Welcome to another episode of Global Business. I am Dr. Neva, and as usual, I am live on YouTube. Hello to our YouTube audience. I'm not able to answer you if you have any questions, but I'll get back to it later. Guys, if you do want to join us every Wednesday at noon, you can definitely go to our website and sign up or reach out to us, and we'll definitely send you the link. As always, I have another phenomenal guest, and you know how we do. We have the guests introduce themselves. Today, I have I'm gonna still say colleague because in my head, still a colleague, right, Dean? A
Yes.
colleague, a friend, a phenomenal business consultant, focusing a little bit more on the construction industry. I'm gonna put it, but Dean, introduce yourself and welcome.
Yes. Hello. Thank you, Dr. Neva. I appreciate the opportunity and I welcome you and your viewers. So my name is Dean Bennett. I'm the CEO of JK Bennett and Associates, and it's a consulting firm, management firm that deals with a lot of minority and women-owned businesses, service disabled-owned businesses, small businesses, and also uh, prime contractors and developers. I would say that this sort of business is in my blood. I've been working. I'm an ex-government official for over 20 years. I worked in the administrations, looking at their minority participation and also economic development and community development. So I appreciate, and we have worked together in the past, Dr. Neva, and I just want to say thank you for uh, keep pressing it on and keeping up the pressure, good pressure.
I've heard pressure. I was like, what now? No, I'm just joking, but I totally know what you mean. And thank you so much for saying that. Yes. So, let's dive in because one of the
Sure.
things that I've seen, working with you is working, assisting individuals in the construction field of small businesses is not an easy task, and they
No.
definitely have their challenges. I've seen where, the smaller ones have opportunities knocked out of their hands, right? Or their mouth, depending on, who is doing it. And a lot of times it's coming from the bigger dogs, the main ones in the industry.
Mhm.
And we're supposed to be playing fair in the sandbox, but that doesn't really happen. So, but Dean, with a small business and in construction, they often have the struggles and, while competing with larger, well-established firms. So what are some key strategies, you would recommend for these smaller business? How can they grow and stand out in this market?
Sure. Great question. First of all, I want to start with the foundation, really. And it's important for the businesses to educate themselves or surround themselves with people who know the answers. So if you're wanting to do, especially construction with government agencies or government agencies and authorities, in New York State, I'll speak to that. There is a executive law article 15A, which was signed in 1988, okay, by Governor Cuomo back then. Um, and it says that there must be meaningful participation of women, minority and women-owned businesses with state agencies and authorities. So that executive law gives them the right to participate. Now, participate mean it in a meaningful way, but it's a two-way street, right? They're not just going to just because. And let me back up that participate if you are a certified firm with the state of New York. So first, you have to be in business for over a year. You have to make sure that you're financially viable. You can do the work for the scope of work, and you're certified by New York State or New York City. Then you have to apply for either some RFPs or join or advertise to some prime contractors. But a lot of the some of the barriers that businesses face are not knowing where the source comes from. You have to be educated to know that this is it's a law. It's part of the law. In today's world, there's a lot of craziness going on. But in New York State, that's been the law for, over 30 years. So, but knowing that is half the battle. Now, doing it is the other side of the battle. Make sure that you're a qualified firm, you're able to complete the work on time and on budget. You have to make sure all of your back office is streamlined. Sending out your invoices, uh, estimating, all of those type of things are sometimes barriers for small businesses because why? They're out there doing their business. They don't have either the resources or the payroll to pay someone to do it. But I would recommend that they leverage technology because technology is really highlighting itself with AI and other sorts of things that that in Copilot, Microsoft Copilot, that all of these things you can research, but you can
Mhm.
also leverage those skill sets so that you can provide them through technology and be better at it because the main prime contractors are already using that technology. You want to match what they use.
Thanks for being Dean for being insightful. And one thing you mentioned is that like they don't know, they're not, educating themselves on certain things. How do you think they can do this? Like get the knowledge necessary? Where do you think they can turn to?
Well, first of all, the New York State residents or uh, non-New York State, anyone can just Google New York State in Empire State Development. Uh, I believe it's esd.ny.gov. That's the Empire State Development actually manages the whole program for the state of New York. And back in my career, almost 10, almost 15 years ago now, I was the executive director of that agency. And we went from paper applications to online certification. So that very act in itself shows you that it's streamlined government's getting a little better. But to get the information, that's where you have to go. And oftentimes they also have a an a website called the New York Contract Reporter,
Hmm.
that has to because it's and that's also under the procurement law that over a certain threshold the state has to advertise all of their RFPs, proposals, and bids and all of that. So there's resources out there. You just have to look for it and uh, be aggressive and be proactive.
Definitely, I so agree with you. So let's talk about a little bit about the government contracts, as you also mentioned,
Mhm.
the source of, finding these contracts, e-reporter. So with the government contracts, Dean, it can be a major source of revenue for the small companies. Yeah,
Right.
but what we find that it could be intimidating,
Mhm.
right? And so what steps would can construction companies take to position themselves to win local or federal contracts?
Well, the key there is I want to paint a picture. Like, if anybody's been to the beach, on a hot day,
Hmm.
you go into the water, it's cold, right? I dipped my toe in it, but then you get used to it after you swim in there a while, right? Same thing with this. You have to uh be proactive and go out there and do it the first time. if you don't start doing it and getting repetitions, then you're not going to be successful. So the key to it is one key thing for construction companies is to bid, answer a bid, and keep bidding. And if you're not going to win every bid. No, nobody has ever won every bid. I've never seen that experience that where somebody has won every bid that they went after. Sometimes you're going to lose. And when you lose, you go back and especially with a government agency or authority, you can ask the agency or whoever the source for the bid came from
Mhm.
to do a debrief, right? And a debrief means that it's a review of the bid and to see where you went wrong, where you went here, where you went wrong there. Did your prices too high? Did you too much manpower, too much this or too little marketing? So those are the things that you can proactively take those steps. It's adding to your routine. Yes, I know
Right.
you bid, but you have to keep bidding because it's a game of numbers. So
Definitely.
don't get discouraged. Just learn from it.
Yeah, and it's not like you're gonna bid the first time and boom. I mean, if you're that lucky, you're that lucky, right?
Right.
So, and sometimes, Dean, let's talk about the subcontracts, right? Because you could
Mhm.
have a big firm that has a contract, and then you can also apply, for that. You want to talk about it a little bit?
Yeah, subcontractors are needed, especially in so a lot of these government contracts.
Hmm.
But one of the other things you can do is if you're in your category, say if you're an engineer or a plumber, or HVAC, or carpentry, look in those whatever trade that you're in. They often have associations, right? Or the labor unions. So look into these things. For instance, I belong to I'm out here in Long Island is Long Island Builders Institute, which is a collection of building developers and also subcontractors. So they build homes and they build affordable housing. So if if you have one of those trades, now you also have to be certified by the state of New York. Then you should look to join some associations because it gives you a better profile. They also do lobbying up in New York State. Um, so it allows you to have more exposure. That's what you need. You need people to find you and to see who you are. And I also want to say, Dr. Neva, it's all about relationships, right? You have to make sure that whatever you bid makes sense to you and also to the person that you're bidding it to. And if they say you're too high, uh, find out why you're too high. And sometimes you want to be very competitive, so that you can, cross the finish line. But sometimes, if you are too high, you're going to have to sharpen your pencil a little bit.
And I just want to say that, rejection is a part of the game. So it's a matter of just staying in the ring and keep going. We all have feelings, so don't catch an attitude, just keep going at it. But with that said, you also mentioned networking and relationships. And I want to take this time to mention that Black Business Month Mixer
Yes.
we will have at Hofstra University on the 6th, that's a Wednesday. National Black Business Month is the month of August. So August 6th, we will be there from 5 to 8. You can also find that information on my website under events, and you can sign up, come on out, network, and meet other business owners, right? And Dean, you will be there.
Yes. Yes, I will be there.
Definitely. All right, let's move on. So, from your perspective, Dean, what does effective business development look like when it comes to the construction industry today? And, how can small business firms, lasting relationships and lead to consistent projects and growth. You kind of touched on that a little bit just now, but let's dig in a little bit more, right? Because at the
Yeah.
end of the day, they're trying to get business and trying to grow. So,
Well, there are so many more tools today than there were, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. With the advent of technology, you can literally become, um, especially in marketing and social media, you can grow tentacles in your company. You can become bigger than you are, and reach more people, I would say. So take advantage of that. If you have some companies I see, if they finished projects, they'll film it, right? And they'll put it on a video or on their LinkedIn or on their website. That gives you exposure, right? People say, "Oh, look
mhm,
at that." I know one firm, that's what they do. They almost do that every week. They take a film of their rental equipment company, and they take a film picture of their equipment being delivered. Right? So that means that it shows you that they're in action. This is something that they're advertising. I mean, I don't want to belabor the point, but that's a very new tool that we have today that we didn't have, say, 5 years ago, right? So utilize that. Take the time to do that, or engage some young people. They love to do that, to do different types of things like that. But I would also make sure that you have a growth plan, right? Starting with where you are now, take an
mhm.
assessment of where you are at now and where you want to be 3 months, 6 months, a 30, 60, 90 day plan. Project out into the future and make goals, because if you don't have a goal, then you don't know where you're going. And don't be afraid of your goal. Be bold. If you don't write it down, then it'll never happen. It's
For
like my
sure.
kid, my kids say, "Well, Dad, if you don't take a picture, that means you were never there." Because that's the young people's thing is the phone these days.
Yeah, you
So
got to capture it, Dean,
right,
as you mentioned. You can't capture it. I mean, and some people, or businesses, they're just like, I'm too busy for
yeah,
that. But it is a part of growth, right?
it
Even what
is.
I'm doing here, right? I have the podcast, I'm highlighting business and professional individuals, because it's not just business that I have on this program, individuals in certain level of positions, right? But giving exposure to them, I'm also giving exposure to my company,
Right,
Nevalliance, and what I do from Nevalliance and Nevalliance Foundation, because I do have the foundation that's women's empowerment, right? That's when we do all those different events and
yes,
but Nevalliance doing leadership professional development, and that's what we do. But just constantly building relationships, being out there. It's construction industry needs to also be there. And I know they have, professional photographers
right,
that are capturing, you started here, you ended up here, right?
right,
You, just for people to see it and go, they're actually in business. Now, Dean,
right.
the future of
Yes,
small construction businesses. We're looking ahead now.
yeah.
What trends or innovations do you see in the pipeline as it relates to the construction business?
Well, I mean, it's a very, this is why you really have to project and to think about where we are and where we're going, because the climate now is very tenuous, right? Although I'll say, like the young kids say that, we've seen this movie before. It's that, business goes in cycles. So I wouldn't be afraid of everything, oh, what's going to happen now? They're getting rid of DEI and all this other stuff. I would just settle your nerves, right? And learn how to adapt and overcome, right? And operate. So in the trends now, you're going to have to look at um, importing and exporting export materials, right? Construction materials, are they going to go up, right? So are your prices going to go up? So that means are your bids might go up. Your submittals might go up. Are is your workforce? Are you going to have enough people to work for you, right? You're going to have to think about unions as well in construction. So these are some of the things that you have to think about, and mainly pricing, right? Because that's going to cover a lot of things. What's your lowest best and final offer, what's your lowest priced. Be conscious of those supplies that you have to do the business with, that you have to do,
Right.
they might be on the rise. So try to look for different ways that you can um, unique ways that you can satisfy customers.
Definitely, Dean. We had a great time here. And guys, if you're watching from YouTube, share this video. Let other people, you might know someone that's in construction that needs this information. I'll also, post this video in other platforms. But Dean, thank you so much for this information. And if you want to grow, you can grow with Dean. When it relates to construction, how can they reach you, Dean?
They can reach me through my website is www.jkbennett.com, or my phone number is 516-850-3936. And please reach out on LinkedIn as well. And I just want to say one last thing is that the Dr. Neva is really doing uh doing what she's supposed to do, and that means leadership, right? She teaches leadership development, and she is a true leader.
Thank you, Dean. It's always a pleasure. All right, guys. Again, if you missed the information earlier, the Black Business Month Mixer in partnership with Hofstra, particularly the Entrepreneurship and Innovation Hub. We will be there August 6th. And just stay in touch because we definitely do different kind of events that I will be sharing in the future. Until then, bye.